Hi, Ajit. Thanks for joining us and agreeing to share your views and experience on the apprenticeship engagement. The ROI on Apprenticeship Dialogue series is one of our endeavors to generate awareness amongst the industry, break the myths around apprenticeship, and encourage more and more employers to come forward and engage with apprenticeship training. We hope that your apprenticeship engagement experience will encourage and inspire many to take the plunge. So thank you once again. And, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Sumit. I'm also excited to be here. And thank you so much for inviting me to share my views.
Great. So let's get started, Ajit.
Yeah.
It's been a while you've been doing apprenticeship. It's been, actually, you'd like to know how long have you been doing apprenticeships and what is it that prompted your organization to take up apprenticeships?
Sure. Sumit, I've been involved with the apprentice programs for many years, on and off. I've been in a L&D role earlier and been very closely associated with the apprentice program in my previous roles. But in my current organization, when I came into this organization, I realized we didn't have we had very minimalistic apprentice, and it was more by default rather than design. Something which I've always believed in is that if we have properly trained resources in the function who have the proper skill sets, apart from the knowledge levels as well, it'll be really great for the organization to create the kind of service levels that we would like to see. So that was one a very important point that prompted us to look at apprentice in a strong way. The other thing is that my CEO also wanted us to have better levels of trained resources that are available to us. We realized that the apprenticeship program was a great way for us to do that. And we wanted to create that kind of a talent pipeline because we had in the past tied up with certain educational institutions from where we would get trainings. But we also realized that they were not very function specific, and they would opt for one function, and in certain other functions we wouldn't get the kind of trained resources that we liked. We also saw this a little bit of a gap in what we expected as knowledge and skill sets and what actually the students came to us with. So we decided that, let's invest in the apprentice program because that's a great way of grooming people as well as creating employability for the kind of talent pool that we desired.
Great. So it's purely from the thought of generating creating a pipeline for talent is what prompted your organization to take up apprenticeships. And it's been how long you've been doing apprenticeships?
So it's been about 3.5 years now that we've been running apprentice program.
Okay, and how it's been going, and how is it going so far?
Well, we had, of course, initially to start with, there were a lot of hiccups, but we have been able to sort of, streamline a lot of the requirements as well as internally our processes. And today, I think, yes, it is working much better for us. And we are seeing much better results also on account of having an apprentice program.
Now, you see, it's been a while since you've been doing apprenticeships, and now it's like a well-oiled machinery which is functioning in your organization. If you were to walk us through the entire process of apprenticeship, right from the start to the end, would love to hear your experience and how are you executing apprenticeships?
Sure. To execute and to sort of, if I talk about firstly the sourcing aspect of the program. So we've looked at various channels. We've also looked at the apprentice portal. We've looked at students who come, who are interested to train with us, and then, looking at upskilling them, moving them into the apprentice program. Some of our existing employees who may be educationally qualified but didn't really apply for a program, so encouraging them to apply for the apprentice program. So we've looked at various of these models, and what we've realized is that what works nice for us, and it has worked well actually, is the fact where we've tried and encouraged people to upskill. That's been a nice added advantage to the program, apart from the sources that are already available. In terms of what we've also done is we've invested in a little more into how we actually select the candidates. We today have a talent council, which is a common council, and it consists of functional as well as HR and L&D resources who select these candidates into the program. The other thing that we have done is we've restructured and we've looked at how do we do better levels of induction as well as onboarding for these candidates, because what we've realized is the first 3 months is very crucial. How we handhold, how we bring them into the system, how do we facilitate them to ease into the system, because though it's important to do that, because these are these formative months, and how they spend the rest of the program with us depends a lot on this 1 month. So we've also created buddies in the system for these new apprentices when they come in, apart from the kind of induction and the other base trainings that we have. So we've divided the program into two parts. The first part is the foundation part, and then of course we have an advanced part. And in the advanced part, we've also incorporated certain levels of skill certification, which is internal, which we do for our other employees or associates as well, which we have seen has helped to make things better for the apprentice program as well.
Okay, so that's a fantastic process, the phase-wise what you've mentioned. So how do you track the progress of for each of the phases, or let's say for different modules that you would have for each phase? How do you keep or do the performance analysis for these apprentices?
Okay, so we do take assistance from our training partner as well. And we also have our own, we call them our learning champs, who help us to evaluate to certain levels of knowledge testing, as well as these I'm talking only of the internal mechanisms that we have in place. So it helps us to get a sense of how they are progressing, as well as there is the feedback which is shared to the apprentice as well as which comes to us. It's a very basic kind of a structure in terms of reporting, but it's consistent, so it helps us to know how the trainee or apprentice is.
So are there any parameters based on which you are evaluating these people and the performance? Yes,
we have certain so there's some parameters which is on job knowledge and skills, but the other parameters also behavioral parameters. So it is like a small little assessment that gets done thrice during the program and gets reported.
So it's been a while, 3 years you've been doing apprenticeship. You said the first 3 months also happens to be very sensitive, and the fact that you have a well-oiled machinery running in your company. Are there any challenges that are you currently facing? Though you did mention that there were initial hiccups and the teething problems were there that were settled. But, as you are running the program now, are there any challenges or concerns that you face while executing apprenticeships?
Sure. So, we do have a little bit of challenges when it even comes to sourcing in terms of across regions, getting the right, fit to expectation candidates. So sourcing is definitely one challenge. The second challenge, of course, is the challenge of is the administrative process challenge. However, a lot of that has also got resolved with the help of our training partner. And of course, the fact that sometimes it's about getting the right levels of supervision or getting the right fit for that function. So that also remains a challenge for us. So I would say, into my mind, these are primarily the few challenges that we face.
Okay, so you mentioned about the hiring, getting the people.
Sure.
Is that you're talking about the volume, or is it people's willingness to get onto apprenticeship, or is it the quality of the people? So what are those problems under the hiring part?
It's more the quality, I would say. It's more the quality of people that we struggle with.
Okay. And when you talk about the administrative, what would they usually be?
So the administrative, like I said, it's about the entire process of registering and getting them on board as per to all the requirements which is there.
And that's where you said that your training partner is assisting you in these administrative work.
Yes, yes,
okay,
yes.
Okay. Have you witnessed any dropouts in the apprenticeship?
Yes, we did. In fact, initially the first 2 years, it has gradually come down. But yes, we've seen a dropout percentage. An average percent. Initially the percentage was high, but it has come down, and it's something that we track. And we've definitely seen improvement in the kind of dropout rate that we have. We had in fact, when we started, we had a much higher dropout rate.
And what numbers are we talking about?
We're talking at about 8%, which has, sorry, not 8, it currently hovers around 8 to 10%. But when we started, we were on about almost 18% of the dropout.
So what are the measures that you took to control this attrition?
Sure. So I think, like I said, again, the 2-3 things which has helped us. The first, of course, is so investing more into the selection process, having a common pool of selectors across regions, so that they are aware of the proper fit for the function, and they also understand where to place, which hotels to place these the candidates selected. The second is, of course, the onboarding, how we've onboarded them. And the third is, of course, the buddy and the monitoring mechanism that we've introduced into the program.
So there's a bit of counseling which happens to ensure that the engagement is for a longer period and they can kind of complete. You said the buddy system and all the counselors that you have. So what role do they play because of which that the attrition has come down?
Sure. So what the buddies essentially do is they connect both formally as well as informally with the trainees, and they get a sense of how they're doing. The trainees also know that for any issues they have, if they cannot reach out or they're not very comfortable reaching out to their immediate supervisor, they have the opportunity to reach out to the buddy. So the buddy mechanism as such has helped. The buddies also guide, and give, suggestions to the trainees as what to do and what not to do. And some of these buddies have been through an apprentice program themselves. So they've been there and done that. So it becomes more meaningful to the apprentice.
Fantastic. So now you also mentioned that in the beginning that the whole purpose for doing apprenticeship was the talent development, to create a pipeline. So how have apprenticeships supported your talent development and hiring strategy?
Sure. So see, one very, very nice outcome that we've seen is that 90% of the apprentices have come back and joined the organization.
90% of the absorption rate.
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it could also be because we didn't have very large numbers, so we were able to very easily absorb. So a great advantage is that there's been very strong affiliation to the organization. They are culturized to the organization, and also they understand the processes. They understand the processes, they understand the SOPs. So we've seen that that's a great benefit to have, and that's some. And the testimony of that is actually that the request for hires have come from the managers themselves to say that yes, we want these trainees, these people who have been through the program have done the on-the-job training. So it's definitely paid out, and in whatever we've invested I think we've definitely got more than what we were looking at.
Great. So you mentioned that they are preferred people by by your business leaders or your various functions. If I were to understand that, on the productivity levels, and if you were to compare the productivity levels of these employees who have graduated from apprenticeships versus if you were to make direct hires, do you see any difference in their productivity levels?
Yes, of course. See, when we look at freshers who perhaps are even more qualified educationally who come into the system, the apprentice definitely they have better levels of skill set. They have better levels of knowledge of the function, of the processes, of what's required in that trade or function. And definitely, because of that, and then because of the fact that we also seen higher levels of longevity, which is a better trade-off as well. Vis-a-vis, if you ask me, one big difference is also that because they also, since they've come in fresh into the organization and they've been trained in a particular way, and they perhaps aspire to be with the organization longer, and they aspire to be like 2 to 3 levels, to grow to 2 3 levels in the organization as well.
Okay, fine. So tell me, what are the visible qualitative and quantitative benefits that you see by engaging apprenticeships?
Okay, so the quantitative aspects has been, yes, one is lower levels of attrition. That's very, very clearly visible. In terms of qualitativeness, it's about, again, the kind of skill sets that we require, it gets visible. The kind of, it also is something which, one of our focuses is to create better levels of employability within the industry. So that's another benefit that we see coming out of the program. And yes, also the fact that the kind of, the productivity that we see these on the job training is really great. And it definitely does justify the kind of efforts that we have been making into the program.
Fantastic. So, so it clearly shows that yes, apprenticeships have paid off in long run for you.
Correct.
Right. Any specific episode that comes to your mind, that an apprentice would have displayed on the floor and on the job, some exemplary performances by them, or they have gone beyond the call to execute some of the stuff for you? Any episode that you can recall?
Yes. I do have a very nice story to share, which, so when I came in, like I said, I've been a firm believer in the apprentice program because I've had, the good fortune to work with 2 very iconic hotels, large hotels. And even as a management trainee and a young executive, I had started my career in operations. I was very much involved in grooming apprentices because, the hotel industry has always had apprentices, and some of the actual great leaders that you see in the industry have grown from apprentices. That has been traditional route for not only internationally, but definitely in India as well. However, when I came in, my own HR team was not very much exposed to apprentices, and they sort of thought that I was maybe creating, because it's easier to maybe just recruit from let's say an institute which is giving you a hospitality trainee than to recruit and train and create all these mechanisms around the program, so initially, yes, in my own team I saw a lot of resistance, but today, just to give an example, that I did this, some of the questions that I've been asked, I said, okay, let me ask my team this, and it's very endearing to see the kind of responses that have come from my team who've been handling the program, and it's also very inspiring to see that it's like a feed forward to say that yes, this is a great program. These are things today, they are saying things, but initially maybe yes, a couple of them have changed, but the other two who are still there right from the beginning, they have changed what they said earlier to what they are saying today about the program by almost 180 degrees, I would say. And most of the benefits that I've talked of is what they have also spoken about, and the belief in the fact that if we do good levels of selection and we facilitate the program, it does help to create better levels of efficiency. So that's a nice story that I have and I've seen in the organization.
But any so that's the feedback which is coming. But anything that you can say, you can recall that any episode or what the apprentice would have displayed, while at work or while at training, where he went beyond the call, to ensure that the work gets done, or whether their customers are happy or anything of that sort.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So we've had a couple of apprentices, especially over the last 1 year in this pandemic, where I'll speak about one particular story about an apprentice, and the kind of it was very, very inspiring. Actually, the story is a very inspiring story, where we couple of our hotels were taken by the local authorities, and they were converted to COVID care centers. So as soon as and we didn't have much choice over there. We were told that we have to. So basically, these centers were more serving like quarantine centers, where people coming into the city or the state were asked to go and quarantine themselves in this center. Of course, the people were tested, and it was primarily more quarantine, but this was during the first wave of COVID-19, and there was a lot of fear. And this was in a remote location. The hotel manager and the supervisor. So it was anyway. This hotel didn't have, in terms of numbers, was slightly staffed below them what the required numbers were, and the local team members actually did not turn up the first 2 days. And they had to. They started getting in people, and the hotel had to operate. And it was just good fortune that we had this apprentice over there, somebody who was in his 6th month, so he knew the systems, he knew how to operate. He had fortunately even spent a little time during his induction working in the housekeeping department. So he actually was single-handedly managing 2 functions in a very critical process during that particular point of time. So yes, of course, it was very much appreciated by the authorities as well as the hotel manager, and he turned out to be a real great star. And I think it's something he went way beyond even the regular employees. I mean, what he did and what he contributed.
Fantastic. So, any recommendation for the employers? And I would say any word of encouragement for the employers to take apprenticeships?
Okay. So yes, it's definitely a program that if you invest in, you are definitely going to see a lot of returns. I think the 2 things that I would say, one is, of course, apart from the selection process, it helps to maybe engage with a partner to help with the onboarding, all the requirements of the program. And secondly, I think it's about the monitoring and assessments that we do for trainees. If that's done well, it'll ensure that we ensure that there are proper skill sets that are in place, as well as I think it inspires or it influences the candidate to rejoin the organization rather than seek employability elsewhere. So these are the two things that I would like to mention.
Great. Thank you so much, Ajit, for sharing your thoughts, your views on apprenticeship. I'm sure it's, it's going to be quite a learning for many of the employers who want to do it, but kind of something that holds them back. I think there are a lot of clarity that they would get after hearing, your views on it. And I do hope that many more employers come forward and start engagement with the apprenticeships. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.